Obviously, men and women are different. Men tend to be seduced by visuals. The way a woman looks is sort of the primal way of seducing a man. Women are very prone to words, to the verbal aspect. And seducers, the typical Don Juan of the 17th century, they discovered that through language, through poetry, through casting a spell on a woman with their words, that this was the weakness that they had. And so many of these great early seducers were just great talkers. If you look at like some of the great ones in the 16th, 17th century, they were not handsome men. They were actually, one of them was physically repulsive, but had such an incredible way with words that he could seduce almost any woman.
You are a much more interesting person than you give credit for, because you're trying to act, trying to fit into the group and be what other people want you to be.
Yeah.
And you know, we all want the power to change ourselves, right? That's why self-help books do so well.
Yeah.
But you can't begin to change yourself in any meaningful way until you confront who you really are. You know, if you go out in public and you don't look in a mirror, your hair you're going to look really weird,
Yeah.
right? You can't begin to like improve your looks until you look in the mirror. You can't begin to change yourself until you look into that mirror of who you really are. All that other stuff that you don't want to confront.
I don't want to be one of those writers that writes a boring book. And stories, if you tell the story well, it's impossible to bore your audience. You tell it in a way where you kind of lure them in by not telling them where you're headed. There's going to be a surprise, a twist at the end. I'm going to tell you the lesson to be learned, and it's not necessarily what you think. The people you think are the people being conned in the game end up being the con artists. That's from the 48 Laws. So I'm going to surprise you. And by doing that, I lure the reader in slowly into my way of thinking, into my world. So now you're ready to consume a 600-page book with a lot of information, but it doesn't like weigh you down, because I'm trying continually to entertain you and tell you stories. And stories are what keep the mind engaged. And I tell writers a lot of times, that's what you're missing in your book.
So one of the worst things are people who are insecure, because a lot of people turn aggressive and envious and ugly because they're very insecure about themselves. And their way of protecting is to attack other people out of insecurity. So people who appear to be very macho, very aggressive, are actually riddled with all kinds of insecurities. And those kind of insecurities are revealed through their body language. So I tell you, you go into a boardroom, a meeting with very powerful people, and this one man, generally a man, tends to present this very aggressive front, and yet you see that his foot is shaking like this, or something about his body language doesn't match his words. You realize this isn't that he's playing a game, he's trying to disguise all of these weaknesses. And so therefore, if you can recognize that people aren't nearly as powerful and intimidating as they actually are, then in their presence, you don't get emotional. Life is shorter than you think. Okay, you're 25 and you're thinking, wow, I've got 10 years to figure it all out. I've got all these vistas of time. I'm young, I'm healthy, etc. You don't have nearly as much time as you think you do. It goes very fast.
Really?
So you need a sense of urgency and energy.
That feeling of having no control and how miserable it is. Related to that is the feeling that I'm trapped in this role in life that is not of my own choosing. That people see me as a writer, a secretary, or whatever, and it's not what I want to be. And that's how everybody judges me, and you feel trapped and you have no power or control. The opposite of that is this feeling that you can be whatever you want. You can recreate yourself. You can suddenly have a different persona. You can change your personality.
By the way, one of the actual other laws is you can act like the king already. So in a sense, I found those two working together. You can recreate yourself, and the other law was be royal already. So
Right.
maybe that's what you need to recreate yourself into.
Completely. You know, the power game is all about psychology. It's not about money. It's not about who you can push around. It's all about psychology. And it begins.
You have to first understand a very basic principle of human psychology.
Yeah.
Everybody has an ego, and everybody you meet is insecure. They have insecurities, okay? But your boss, the person above you, has even more insecurities and a larger ego than other people, and you don't think so. You're probably aware that they have an ego, but you don't think that they have insecurities because they're the boss, you know? But actually,
They're always worried about whether people like them, whether people respect them, whether people think they're doing a good job or not. They're riddled with doubts, and they're constantly looking out for people to see their body language, etc. Does that guy really respect me? Does he have an attitude, etc.? You don't think that. You think, if I just try hard to please the boss, it will work out wonderfully. But you might be doing something else. You might be stirring up their insecurities. So you have to always be aware in life of people's insecurities.
Great sirens like a Cleopatra or a Marilyn Monroe that I talk about, they really could almost destroy a man. They would make them fall so deeply in love. Why would a man ever be interested in a woman like that is the question. Why did Caesar fall for Cleopatra? Why did Mark Antony? Because men secretly want that. They want the danger. They want the possibility that maybe this woman will destroy them. They want the danger. They want the element of risk involved. They're secretly attracted to it.